The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGig webinar series, our endeavor to empower techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we have initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. The topic of today's session is Multi-Channel Enablement BPM Way, Moving Business Processes Beyond Enterprise Boundaries. And our guest speaker today is Srinivas Reddy. He is the Program Director with Mindtree. Srinivas has more than 16 years of IT experience managing, architecting, and delivering complex enterprise BPM and SOA implementations across various industry domains. Thought leader whose responsibilities include working with customer enterprise strategy and CTO teams by providing consulting and advisory services. He has extensive experience in providing SOA and BPM roadmap for the customers, architecture, and consulting in transformational engagements. He currently manages IBM BPM and SOA competency at Mindtree, providing technology leadership to customers in IBM, SOA, and BPM space. So, without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to you, Srinivas.
Yeah, thank you, Aradhana. Thank you for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sure that we have a 1 hour's time. So what we would do is, initially we will go through the complete slides, and then at the end of the, we have 45 minutes for the slides to be covered. After that, we would be taking the questions, so that we can continue with our flow. So with just this, so let me, give a brief about myself. I know that Aradhana has given that, but so I'm Srinivas. I'm part of EA and BPM service line from Mindtree, and I manage IBM middleware technology practice and COE. So I'm thankful that I have, I got opportunity to work with some transformational and enterprise scale SOA and BPM engagements, primarily in the areas of BSI, travel and manufacturing domains. So where we had an opportunity to build this large-scale BPM solution, specifically, in the multi-channel areas. For example, some of the customers like, let's say banking and insurance customers, right? So they want their services to be available across all channels. So with this, let's go ahead with our topic today, which is multi-channel enablement using BPM way, right? So the digital revolution in the advent of technologies like SMAC, so are creating both opportunities and at the same threats to the enterprises. So opportunities include, right, being innovative in your business models and providing new products and services very quickly. And some of the threats would be, what kind of experience, whether the consumers of my products, of an enterprise product, right, of an enterprise, are they getting a consistent experience in accessing those services across all these channels? So while consumers are always looking for seamless engagement and consistent experience, whichever channel that they are using, they are constantly being influenced by social channels. So which is why enterprises must make use of this opportunity to sell more smartly and also improve the overall customer experience and satisfaction. So while we understand that there are many approaches of building such a multi-channel solution, the primary intent of this webinar is to provide an approach which is based on transforming the business processes, taking outside-in view, which is nothing but the customer-centric or a process-centric view rather than a task-centric approach. So we understand that there are multiple ways. For example, enterprises have adapted some technology, vendor-provided technologies or custom-built technologies to develop this channel, to develop these capabilities. But this provides a different view. It requires a fundamental change by looking at the processes itself, rather than focusing on only the the user experience parts, right? So which is anyway given. But what transformation is required for the today's customer is transforming the business processes rather than looking at only from a specific point of view. So let's go through the agenda first. So in the agenda, so what we would cover is, we will try to understand some of the challenges of the current approaches. So as we said, there are multiple ways of doing the multi-channel delivery. So we will understand some of those in brief and try to see what are the challenges in those approaches. And we will also try to see what would be an alternative way to build such a kind of a multi-channel delivery using BPM. And in that process, we will also look at why enterprises must need to look at their processes first rather than looking at other capabilities, right? And we also know that customers have traditionally have adapted various application systems, both some ERPs and CORDs, and some are custom built like CRM, etc. Right? So most of their processes are currently embedded in their enterprise application systems. So we will also need to look at it, while we understand that these processes must be available for consuming across different channels by various partners, etc. Right? So it is also important that how you can leverage these assets and then transform those assets so that those processes are indeed available and can be seamlessly accessible across all channels. And we also will understand what are the different multi-channel considerations, right? What are the different types of channels? What are some of the design considerations? There would be some of the common aspects that we need to consider. For example, let's say security or caching could be common across various channels. So how do we do that? And then we will look at a structure of an overall multi-channel delivery system where we would present our overall approach, and then we talk about some of the solutioning aspects, some of the key considerations that would go through the overall building of such capability. Let's go through some of the challenges faced by the enterprises in pursuit of building a multi-channel solution. So while we understand that customer needs are changing, right? So they wanted new things or in a different way, or they want new capabilities to come out of their products and services. They also want to access these services. The way that they want to access these products and services are also changing because as the new technologies are being evolved, right? For example, in the advent of large See, Aradhana, there is some disturbance in the call. I see some crosstalk going on. Hello? Hello, Aradhana? I think there is some crosstalk. Let me repeat. In this slide number 3, we talk about some of the challenges by the enterprises in pursuit of building a multi-channel solution. Right? We see that customer needs are changing, and the way they want to access those services and products which are provided to the enterprise, they are also changing because as the new technologies are being evolved. One of the examples that we could see is, for example, the large-scale cloud adoption is introducing new business models. For example, enterprises want to host some of their solutions as a service, right? For example, some of the business processes as service. For example, let's take a large UK-based insurance provider. So they have completely hosted their first notice of loss, which is the first process that would get triggered when you want to report the loss, right? That's the first starting point of the claim process. So that process is completely available as a service on a cloud. So the advantage that he has got right now, the enterprise hosted the complete FNOS solution on the cloud, and there are a lot of other insurance customers using that as a service. So they're getting revenue out of their business processes, which is consumed both externally and also being used internally in their claims processes. So that's a new business models are being evolved as we see that. So we would like to see how customers can leverage BPM and other capabilities to get into that new kind of a business model. And one of the things is enterprises must also need to be more receptive and agile to these changes, right? So, to be more agile, traditionally customers, enterprises basically, so they have adopted some homegrown systems, some COTS applications, which resulted in a lot of process failures. For example, if you see that there is a customer relationship management, so some of the processes are in the CRMs, and some of their fulfillment processes, order fulfillment processes, are some other let's say some other SAP, SAP, or some other systems, right? So if you have to do an end-to-end order to cash, so you will have to go through multiple systems, multiple processes. So we would like to understand that how these process silos across these ERP systems can be defeated by using a business process management systems. And we will also see that some of the, there are segmented channels within the enterprise. For example, customers, what they have done is traditionally, when I say customers, it's actually enterprises here. So the enterprises, they adopted, for example, let's say, if you take an insurance company, any known insurance company, right? So typically we see that the core processes are always available on mobile or web channels. But if you go to their claims processes, those may not be available. So which means that there is a segmented channel here. So some of the services are available and some of the services are not available. Some services are available on web, some are maybe through some traditional point of sale channels, etc. Right? And what enterprises have done is enterprises have adopted, to quick fix this some of the challenges. They have adopted some technology-intensive initiatives, which might solve only part of their problem or for a temporary period. So there are basically they are tactical in approach because they don't address the complete end-to-end customer challenges, right? In terms of enabling everything or anything of their enterprise across multiple channels. Because when I say enabling the across multiple channels, which also means that they will have to provide seamless capabilities for their employees, because now BYOD has becoming the norm, right? So many of the business teams, they would like to access their processes from anywhere. For example, there is a telemetry, which is becoming very popular. So there are a lot of insurance companies, they wanted to maybe monitor how the vehicle is running through a telemetry device. So it's running anywhere. So there is a telemetry device which feeds the signal. So that's one of the channels through which you would receive that and then process the information, which will help you to assess the risk associated with that insurance kind of stuff. So there are some fixed approaches that is adopted, but some are they are not uniform kind of things, right? So they're all tactical, and some have adopted traditionally vendor-based approaches. But again, they are very costly and inflexible. So when I say vendor-based approaches, which means that, for example, there are some tools that is available in the market. For example, let's say, take an IBM Worklight, or typically, let's say, for a mobile channel, it's
Srinivas, you're not audible. Can you please check? Srinivas, you're not audible. Can you please check?
Fundamental, say, when we say enterprises. So the core asset of an enterprise is the process. So any problem, any initiative or any problem must be looked at a process perspective. For example, okay, if an enterprise has to provide a specific service, right? This is associated with a process. For example, a customer wants to provide a quote service, or customer wants to sell something, right? So there needs to be a process associated with it. There is a booking process, there is a buy process. So there is a process associated with a product or a service, whichever the enterprises want to provide to their end consumers. So always look at a process perspective, because that is very critical. And then explore BPM way of solving business problems, because especially process centricity, right? So process centricity advocates conducting businesses by focusing an organization by looking outwards, which means that looking across organizational silos and executing processes that deliver end-person services that adds value to the customer. So everything is tied to the customer and everything is tied to a process, right? The primary focus of process centricity is on creating a value for the customer. And this is a shift in thinking, which is viewing our organization from an outside in to, rather than a task-centric approach where we will look at every capability as a task. So look at everything from a process perspective. So that is very critical to solve some of the process level challenges. Right? And we will also see how enterprises can enable those processes. So while enterprises started looking at a processes, we will also see what are the different ways that these processes can be made available for an enterprise consumption. So which means that we may have to establish a process layer. So we would see that this is a philosophy, this is general philosophy, general pattern that you would have in a multi-layered architecture. So we would also go through that. So we understand that there would be a multiple ways of doing building some certain capability, right? Either we can develop something on our own. For example, if you need some capability, we can develop some custom applications, either with Java or .NET, right? Similarly, what is the other option for the enterprises is to look at from a COTS application. For example, they can look at the ready-built applications like ERPs or CRM or etc., which provides the pre-built application. So wherein the customer can quickly buy something out options and then do it. But there are some advantages and disadvantages to it, because packaged applications can definitely solve the problem immediately. But again, you need to also look at the cost, because you need to have, if you have to change something, if you have to customize something, it is very costly. Again, in the future migrations as well, right? So there's a lot of effort that will go into the packaged application. So there is apart from doing a custom development, and apart from adapting to cost, so there is a third way of solving the business problem, that is applying BPM. So every potential business opportunity or every potential opportunity to develop some new capability must be explored if a BPM can be applied there. It's not necessary that everything can be solved through BPM, but at least we need to look at, yes, is it really tied to a process? So can we make it as a process way of solving the business problem, right? There are certain things, for example, if you look at the code, right? If you look at the risk management, for example, there are a lot of algorithms built, to get a code, right? So those capabilities cannot be a BPM, but they can go into a BRMS or some kind of a rules-based capability. So there is always a give and take, right? So not everything can be done in BPM, but nevertheless, we always need to see that a specific capability that we are trying to build as an enterprise. Let us explore if that can be done in a BPM, right? Right. So once we see that, yes, we started looking at a business process perspective. So let's explore. Let's start building those processes. For example, I have taken an example of an insurance, because traditionally I come with a lot of insurance background, but I can also take another example of, let's say, manufacturing. So we have these processes, some of these processes. So we have incident reporting process where we report the claims, and there is once the customer reports the the incident or a loss, you will have the claim handling process that would get started. Similarly, there is a sub processes that might be applied to home. For example, if the home damage you want to report, so there is a home specific sub processes that would be there, right? Similarly, there is for auto, there will be auto specific processes, right? And there could be common settlement processes which can be common. So you build your process layer, have processes built, and then enable those processes as enterprise business services kind of stuff. So what it means is it's not a new thing which all that we did it, we kind of studied that, right? So it's how you build your process layer. So as a part of your multi-layered architecture, enable all your processes as services. And these services, in fact, the very reason of making available them as services is because you can shield a lot of complexity. For example, you can apply some standard security, mechanisms, right, or any other compliance mechanisms you can enforce on the service. So you don't have to offload that into your business process implementation, right? Similarly, when you do that, your services can be consumed by anyone. Now this process is available as a service, and this service has inbuilt capabilities to, in terms of do a security check or do some auditing or some other QS parameters. Everything is managed by the service, and this service can be easily, exposed or can be made consumable by any of the channels. This is one of the foundations that we need to build when we are really going into a multi-channel, right? Having said it, understood the way that the problems at an enterprise must be looked at, let's also explore how you can transform those existing package applications, because traditionally most of the processes of an enterprise are by and large embedded in a package application. So let's see how this package application can be transformed, and then they, those processes can be brought to a mainstream so that they can also be made available as services, and that can be consumed across multiple channels. Right? Traditionally, ERPs, we understand they provide siloed implementation, because we see that ERP applications are specific to a specific, addresses a specific capability or a specific subset of a functionality, right? And traditionally, these package applications are legacies, right? I know that there are, the new age, ERP applications that are coming with a mobile-ready interfaces, etc. But again, that is only restricted to that capability, right? So we are talking about a seamless experience across all channels, right? Across all applications. So which means that we also need to look at some of those legacy, package applications to see how we can enable them. So to make sure that those processes are indeed can be made available to other channels. And some of those processes are embedded in the applications. One of the challenges that you would see is while we understand that the ERP can provide a specific capability, sometimes you have to provide a different process, right? For example, you want to innovate and create a new different new processes or different process, because customer requirements are changing. So we will also understand that what kind of a different patterns that we can build on this existing package application, because you cannot get rid of this package application, but at the same time, let's see how maximum we can use this package application and develop those innovative processes, still managing and continuing the existing capability that is provided with this systems. Right. So approach one, we will see one of the key things that we could do is you can extend the functionalities of an existing ERP. For example, let's take some of the ERP systems which provides just an inventory and all inventory processes, right? What we can do is we can use a business process layer to build some additional capabilities leveraging those existing processes. For example, we could create new capabilities like e-management, right? The typically you will use yield management to improve the production processes for manufacturing speed and high quality. So these are some of the additional processes which you can build based upon your current inventory process. So just-in-time requirements, all that supply chain automations can be done. So while we are completely not replacing your ERP, but you are extending this ERP processes by adding another process layer. So that's how you can use BPM systems. And then we will also see a second approach wherein we will fill the gaps. For example, a CRM application can provide a specific capability, right? So there is some delta capability which may not be provided by this system. For example, there are multiple systems. So there is some processes which can be in between, in the sense that there could be a delta process which is not covered by both the systems. So such processes can be built. So what you can do is you can build an overarching process that can use the capabilities of a CRM processes of the CRM system. At the same time, it can also, the overarching process can also orchestrate some of the ERP processes, right? For example, we could add the data capabilities to the existing process like reverse logistic process, where goods and materials start flowing upstream through the reverse supply chain. So some of this reverse logistic can be built in. I'm taking an example of a manufacturing process, right? For example, I'm saying that there is a CRM system and there is an ERP system for your procurement. Similarly, if you have to put a reverse logistics, which may not be possible using existing. So the gaps can be added by having a business process layer. And then the third way is, you can innovate processes from existing assets, which means that while we understand that there are specific capabilities provided by each of the individual ERP systems, you can build an end-to-end process. For example, the order fulfillment would start from the CRM, but again, you can have an overarching process that can trigger individual processes in the respective systems and and build that end-to-end capability. For example, like quote to cash, order to ship. So those kind of an overarching processes can be built using the capabilities of the existing ERP systems. So the advantage of this approach is, the three different approaches that we are trying to say here is, ERP systems are important. We cannot replace these ERP systems. What best we can do is we can use the BPM capabilities to add or to extend the capabilities of a specific ERP, and also to innovate and build new capabilities which is not available in the current systems. At the same time, make these processes available for an enterprise consumption. So you have built a business process layer wherein, and then internally this business process use the capabilities of different ERP systems. So you are building a layered way of enabling them across multiple channels, right? So now, having seen the transformation that happens at a process level, we will also understand some of the aspects involved in the delivery of a multi-channel solution. So far we have talked about the process engineering that has to be done in enterprise. Now we would look at, yes, now processes are engineered. We have the processes built at a process layer, and we have also used, extended our ERPs, and then these processes of the ERPs are also available for enterprise consumption. Now we would see that what are the different channel specific considerations that we need to make so that these processes can be made available, can be consumed across all channels, right? One of the things that, let's go through some of the channels that and each of these implications that we need to consider. For example, let's say mobile. Nowadays, mobile is a must-have capability. So you cannot say that mobile is an optional, not. So while we plan for a multi-channel thing, mobile is an important thing, right? Same thing, Internet of Things, which means that everything in the world is connected. So including your processes and services. So which means that any asset that you develop, when I say asset, it is typically I'm talking about the process here. So all enterprise assets are nothing but your processes. That's what I mean here. So anything that enterprise develop has to be consumed anywhere. So either it could be consumed by the customer, or it is consumed by your employees, or it can be consumed by your partners. So in the advent of this Internet of Things, so everything is a connected piece. So which means that you always need to plan that anything that you would be developing internally should have a provision to get connected anywhere. Right? The other one is web, so which is a very common. But what is important is, while we understand that traditionally enterprises started adopting some of the web channels through either portals or e-commerce channels, what is important is how we were able to provide that consistent experience across all the channels. So whether whether if I am using a specific capability or a specific functionality, whether I'm able to get the same experience if I am using some other capability and some other functionality. So that is very important. And then email. So yes, traditionally this is not a primary channel, but indeed you would see a lot of specifically in the e-commerce world. We are seeing a spike in the way that email is being used. For example, email has been used extensively for you can send your promotions to email. I mean, it's not spams, but basically some of the registered customers would get some promotions in the email, and you can call up the call center and then get that order, right? So some kind of email channels are existing, and then social is nowadays is very important because it has a major potential, at the same time it's a disruptor, right? So which means that majority of your products and services will get influenced by the social channels. So customers would discuss, your competitors would discuss. So there would be a lot of inputs that would indeed coming from these channels, which will finally help for enterprises to improve upon or provide a differentiated services to their customers. And another differentiating channel we need to consider is Web API, because nowadays there are two different things, right? One thing is, the customers, as I said, one example of an insurance company in UK. So they basically enabled some of their business processes as a service. So which means that it definitely is a different business model. So apart from doing what you do, if you're able to do that in a standard way, you can use that internally. At the same time, you can also sell that as an IP to others. So which means that you will be able to use this as a business process or service kind of stuff capabilities. Similarly, you can also use these capabilities. For example, you don't want to have custom built something. Something is already available by some other companies providing through cloud, right? You can use Web APIs to basically mash up your services and processes. And while we considered some of the channels, we will also discuss some of the design considerations of a multi-channel, right? There would be different types of interactions, right? It would be something like structured. Structured could be like you are, talking in terms of, using an XML or etc. Right? For example, through web or a web service. For example, there is a channel that can consume your services through a web service or through standard interfaces. Similarly, through OS or mobile gates. So where it enables your structured way of collaborating with your internal processes and services. There would be collaborative as well. For example, on the fly exchanges that you would see typically going in the social media, right? Something like likes, some comments about your products. So, and you would also see some like ad hoc or unstructured, right? Typically it would be emails, or it would be through phones or through messengers, for example, right? So there will be different challenges that need to be addressed because of different ways of interaction. So we will have to see how our multi-channel solution should address these challenges, right? And then defining a channel-centric gateway itself. So this is one of the key components, right? For example, enterprise cannot have, sometimes, it's not necessary that, enterprise will wanted all of their products to be available in all the channels, all the available channels, because it's a very costly thing, right? So they would definitely take a view of, yes, what could be my core services and what are my major 2-3 channels on which I want my services to be available. So, which means that he will, enterprises will fix on, let's say, I want a mobile channel, I want a web channel. So, which means that we need to see how to build your mobile and web gateways kind of stuff. So, some of the channel-centric capabilities that we need to be built as a part of the solution, something that we need to consider. Similarly, managing the contextual collaboration data, right? For example, something I ordered through the web, right? And if for some reasons I'm in mid of the buying process through the web, and because of some issues, I'm not able to buy that. So my transaction has failed. So now what is the different mechanism that you would adopt so that the enterprises is not losing that LZ customer, right? How that data is available to multiple channels. For example, that data should be available, let's say, as an exception, it needs to trigger a point of sale, or it could be sending a message to some other call center, right, wherein they can call the customer and they have the complete context of what customer was intended to buy that, right? So how you will manage this contextual collaboration, across these multiple channels, and that's very important. Similarly, the security. So, this is one of the important considerations. So I would not emphasize much here, but the main reason that providing here it is that there should be an importance given to the security aspect, because we are saying that it has to be consumed in multiple ways. So while there are opportunities, there are equally threats as well, right? So we need to counter how my services, my applications are secured. And another key capability is caching. So, for example, my products and services, some of the key information regarding my customers should be accessed, should be available to multiple channels, and how what kind of mechanism that I have so that I don't have to every time go to the system of record to get those details. So caching is something which is very important because it speeds up your overall process, and at the same time it increases your experience, right, the customer experience. So some of those aspects is something that we need to consider. And this is a slide. This is a little bit busy slide. What I will do is I will go through that layer by layer. So you will see at the end, right, where we have defined all your business processes, and we have built the business processes right now, and these business processes are available as services, which is the green box, which is nothing but your SOA layer, which will enable all your business processes, which could be sitting on an ERP or a CRM, or could be a bespoke processes. They are all available as services. And these services would also shield, for example, they will also, the SOA layer will also act as enablers for certain capabilities, for example, for caching, right? And similarly, you will need to have typically for a web channel, so you might require a web server, and similarly some of the business capabilities you might require an app server kind of stuff. So the blue color box which is given here, that is the channel-centric gateway. So that is a gateway that you need to be built. For example, if you need to have a multi-channel system, you need to think about establishing a channel-centric gateway. For example, if you have to have a mobile, so this mobile gateway needs to be built. Either you custom built it, but if you see that there are multiple capabilities, right? Again, it's always build versus buy. Whether you can build those capabilities internally, you can use your HTML5 and enable those applications through mobile for consumption across all platforms, right? Or you can also use some of the options products which is available like Konya, etc., to build those mobile gateways. Similarly, you could leverage some of the social connectors. When I say social connectors, we understand that social media is one of the important things. So if you have to listen to the social events, right, the social events would drive your business processes inside. So which means that use the vendor provided or the custom built gateway capabilities and build those adapters, or we can use these adapters off the shelf capabilities, or we can build that inside, right? You can use that capabilities to drive the events of the social. You can listen to the social events. Similarly, there is a web channel gateway, which is primarily your web application, right? You would buy your web server. So you would also have some of the location-based services. For example, if you want to provide any, specifically it is useful when in an e-commerce channel, right? You want to say that what is your nearest stores that are available here. Example, there is some sale going on in a specific location, right? You can always bump up that information onto the mobile app. So similarly, there is there's a lot of other capabilities that you can do, like data normalization in terms of, because that's important, because not every channel can consume the data in the same format. So which means that, for example, if there is a web channel, so you can consume that in an XML, or similarly, if it is a mobile channel, then you would like to look at JSON-based formats, right? So that data normalization would typically happen both with the combination of your channel-centric gateway and the SOA layer capabilities. And then, so what typically we are trying to say is, while we build the channel-centric gateways, we will enable those services. You would see that it is available in like HTML5, or you can make them available through your typically web services way, or you can make these services available using JSON or HTTP, right? So this is a typical multi-channel delivery. In fact, some of the customers have been evolving this model. They basically first did a business process level transformation and then started building the capabilities, rather than coming from a top-down approach, right? Wherein you would focus primarily on the multi-channel and then start building those capabilities, but you don't end up re-engineering your processes. So that way, the challenge is typically it is technology intensive, and you would start building someday and then try to fix the solution. That would be always practical. So if the re-engineering happens at the both ends, right, while you start building those capabilities, re-engineer, and have a process level view, they're a lot more simpler, because your processes are always available as services. Services can shield a lot of capabilities. It can, build the caching, or can build the, your security framework within that. And these services can be normalized from a data point in terms of managing those complexities of JSON and XML can be done, transformations can be done using those service calls. So this is another way. I mean, though we understand that there are multiple ways, but the very intent of this multi-channel system, multi-channel delivery system is, how you can leverage BPM to transform your enterprise. Going into the next slide. This is the typical to-be state, while this is futuristic kind of stuff. So we'll see that how enterprises can adopt BPM, and then they can enable the services through SOA. They can use the, if you look at the left side, you can host your processes service. Similarly, you can also consume your services through cloud, right? You can also, one important thing is you can use your process analytics and then apply, and then you can use your, you can tie this to your overall business intelligence, right? You can basically monitor events coming from different channels, and you can also do a predictive kind of stuff, wherein all those events can, for example, if there are some events, specific capabilities, for example, you see that there is some customer, is asking for a specific product through a specific channel, right? And similarly, you are getting a different view from different customers on multiple channels. So you can understand that there are certain services that can be sold more on these channels. So you will be able to predict that kind of an intelligence, and then enable and then modify your processes or innovate those processes so that you can get maximum out of what is already available. Similarly, you can drive a lot of social collaboration. You can use your social channels to to listen to this. You can set up your events to listen to social channels, and you can also enable your processes through mobile and web, etc. So this is about it, and we completed our 40-minute session. I hope I have covered enough, but I think some things have been very detailed, and some things I kept it very specific level because of the interest of time. But I think now we can take up questions. Aradhana, are you there?
Yes, Srinivas, thanks for the insightful presentation. So I would request you to take up the questions now. Also, please read out the questions and their answers so that all our users may listen to your insights. So you would be getting the questions in your questions doc right about now. Are you able to see them?
Yes, I think I'm getting the questions right now.
All right. So you can start taking them one by one.
Yes. So one of the questions that I see is using SOA, multi-channel can be implemented. Then what is different when using BPM for multi-channel? See, again, see when we talk about capabilities of an enterprise, I always said that enterprise asset process is always an enterprise asset, right? So rather than calling it as a service, we call it as processes. So sometimes a service is a business processes can be a service itself. So I don't see really a difference in when you call it as an SOA. But the reason why I'm saying it is a BPM way of implementing things is because there is a lot of process engineering that we have to do. So which is possible only when you adopt BPM, because as I said, process can have people, process can have applications, process can have services. So it is a orchestration of your people, orchestration of your systems and services. So process is at a higher level than a service. So which is why we say that the BPM way of solving the the multi-channel solution rather than SOA. Any other questions? Yes, so there is a question, which BPM product do you recommend and why? See the very notion, see I'm not here to recommend a specific BPM product, because any BPM product can solve. There is always a capabilities that an enterprise wants. And always these capabilities must determine what type of BPM system that they must adopt. So there are industry-leading products. For example, there are products available from leading vendors like Pega, IBM, TIPCOs, and Oracle of the world, right? But it's always important that the enterprises, when must need to take their functional requirements into consideration before adopting a specific BPM system. And I see one more question, but I think it's big, but I try to shorten it. I understand that the defined channels can help the end user or a customer to use the desired channels to right. But how can we use multi-channel enablement to help organization employees to respond to those questions? Can we enable organizations to respond on all the channels seamlessly? Yes. So that's where, right, when I say multi-channel delivery, it is for both, for employees, not for both, for everyone, in the sense that, so for customers, right, they have to access the enterprise services and products. So for which means that they need to they should be in a position to access these services. Similarly, employees, now BYOD is becoming very common. So it is not necessary that employees may use a specific way to interact with their assets, with their processes. So employees or business teams can themselves use various other channels and mechanisms to work on those. So it is as common as a customer to be used by employees as well. Similarly, for partners, for example, if partners wants to communicate or you want to involve partners in your process collaboration, so you will have to find a mechanism of how you can involve them as well. So it is equivalently applicable for all employees, for partners, and customers. But it all depends upon what capabilities that you want. For example, customers can only have specific processes. Similarly, employees, the way employees access would be different, right? So you will have to provide different capabilities and different security mechanisms are enforced on employees. Similarly, for partners. These are some of the considerations that you would have to make at a channel-centric gateway. So there's a question on, again, how Oracle Suva has its hands on cloud. So I understand that Oracle Suva has basically Oracle itself. They have their private cloud, and where they can make most of the products are available on the cloud platform. But if you say that how Oracle Suva can be running in a public cloud like Amazon, so that which means that is under discussion of vendor partners of Oracle, like Oracle, to make these services available on the cloud. So it's nothing to do with the product vendor, but again, it's about a product vendor, because when they have to move to the cloud, they have to take a lot of things into consideration. They have to identify the right licensing model and right service enabling mechanisms. So it's not necessary that all the vendors have to adopt their own private clouds. They can also enable their products and services on public clouds platforms as well.
I think we are waiting for the attendees to type in their queries. In the meanwhile, would you like to explain a little bit about the presentation that we had today, a little summing up of the session?
Is that to me, Aradhana?
Yes, Srinivas, if you would want to talk a little about the session.
Yes. Yes, so the intent of this webinar is, to give a different point of view. While we understand that traditionally customers have adopted different mechanisms to implement a multi-channel delivery solution, right? This is a different point of view in the sense that, traditionally there are different technologies and there are different vendor products available, but this provides a different dimension rather than looking it as only UI related or only presentation related. There is a transformation that has to be done at a process level. So unless and until you do the transformation at the process level, any mechanisms, any initiatives that you would like to have on a multi-channel delivery can, may or may not succeed from a strategic point of view. So there is a transformation that has to be done at the process level, and that has to be constructive. So make your processes first, available as a service, and then build the channels and capabilities as you evolve as an enterprise. So basically, this provides a point of view where you can have a different way of implementing a multi-channel delivery solution. So this sums up the the idea, and I hope I have covered the content, and I hope you all understood what we are trying to convey here. And thanks again, thanks for being with us. And if there are any specific questions, I still have some time. I think I think some questions.
Yes, there is one more question. Before we close down the session, I would request you to take this question. And after that, I think we are good to close this session for today.
Is BPM a path of connectivity or automation? Entry point scenario of SOA. See, we are not talking about connectivity here, right? Automation to some extent, yes, right? What we are trying to talk here is a process level transformation, right? It can be a combination of automation, but more importantly, it's the re-engineering that has to be done at a process level. And SOA is always a enabler. I can say that it's not a, again, when I say enabler, it enforces connectivity, and it makes this process available for multi-channel consumption.
Yes, that sums up the session. I think we are good to close. Any closing lines before we close the session for today?
Thanks, team. Thanks for. I hope that this webinar has met your expectations. If there are any specific questions, you can reach out to my email. It's listed there on the slide. So I'm feel free to reach out to me if there are any specific questions. I can take it at a later point of time. And thanks, Aradhana. Thanks for helping me. Thanks for your support in this.
You're most welcome, Srinivas, and I'm really thankful to our guest speaker today for conducting this wonderful webinar. It was indeed a great session. And I would also like to thank all our participants for their support in making this webinar a success. The recording of the webinar will be available on techgig.com by tomorrow. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Srinivas, for taking the time out and having us for the webinar. Have a great evening ahead.
Yeah. Thanks all. Have a great evening. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.